What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the B1KER Bar Podcast live stream all at once. Here we are, episode 64. It's going to be a shorter episode tonight because apparently I'm not paying people to stay on here as long as I want them to. And until that happens, they get to make up their mind how long this is going to go. So with that being said, I'm going to get through the quick stuff at the beginning here real fast. Sorry I didn't get this posted up earlier so you knew it was happening more than 15 minutes ago, but guess what? I was riding bikes today and that was fun. So I'm sorry. If you guys really want me to start like making this as serious as possible, I need like probably at least 1,000 more people on Patreon. So if you guys can get on to Patreon, hey, it's only $1 a month. You can get some coupons for $5 a month. You can get a 6 sticker pack made by Stickered. And if you don't want to do that, just stop by my Instagram or my Facebook page. They both have the same content on it. And that's at B1KER, so B1KER B1. If you guys super chat, dude, that is awesome. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I'm in the middle of a conversation and I'm looking at like 10 other things on the screen here. I don't always have the opportunity to like say thank you or call you guys out. That's sick when you do though, dude. I seriously, really, really, truly appreciate it. So with all of that going on, I'm going to go ahead and bring on today's guest because we only have so much time. So today you guys actually get to see this dude's face for the first time. We got James from MTB Savant. You know, I was looking for a picture of you and I went back to the video that we did a couple of years ago on the Toads Wild Ride.
Wow.
Because I was like, oh, I got some video of him there. And then I forgot the way I started the video was like from your shoulders down, and I never showed your face. So
that was a few years ago. Yeah, it's been a while.
It was a little bit, man. What have you been up to?
How much? Just busy with life, work, family, doing the YouTube thing. So it's definitely keeping me busy for sure.
Yeah, I bet. When you first started your channel, you didn't have any kids, right?
I didn't have any kids. I think I'm trying to remember now. It's been 4 years. I think I started my channel just a few months before you did, actually.
Yeah, you were always a little bit ahead of me. Now I think you're a lot of bit ahead of me. Where are you at now?
I don't know, just over 20,000 or something like that. 21,000, I think.
Oh, yeah, got a quick 11 grand on me or 10 grand on me. That's awesome. Sweet. I'm so glad that you barely ever post, man. That's what happens when you make good content, though. That's my problem. I don't make good content, so.
Yeah, if you wanna learn how to run a mildly successful YouTube channel, definitely follow my blueprint because I haven't been posting consistently. That's kind of the key thing that you need to do, obviously.
Yeah,
that's the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think the posting inconsistently actually works because you and Trail Features both have I put up a video whenever I feel like it, and boom, freaking 20,000 subscribers. What do you know?
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. I think it takes a really long time to get an audience, and I feel like it took 4 years now, or almost 4 years, and I think just having that feeling of like being able to press the gas sometimes is sometimes satisfying enough for me, which is kind of hard to explain. It's like it's one thing to make content and nobody's watching it, right? But it's another thing to, like you said, if I have time to make a video, I make it and it's well received. I think it's very gratifying for me.
Yeah, it totally is, man. I mean, it's I never really thought about it that way because, like, when you first start your channel, there isn't anybody watching.
No,
you're really just doing it for yourself. Like,
you're doing it for fun. You're doing it because there's that old notion, right? Like, you should dance like nobody's watching, right?
Yeah.
But when you make a YouTube channel, it has to be fun. You can't think that there's going to be 50,000 people watching your first video, right?
That's where I screwed up.
You had unrealistic expectations then. But you really have to make content because it's fun and just make the last video a little bit better and just keep at it. That's the hard part. There's no shortcuts.
Yeah.
Right? You and I both know that.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. And I think the building the audience thing, it takes time, like you said. And I think, when you first start, you definitely You come in like hard charging, like you have the most enthusiasm out of any time that you've had your channel when you first start.
Yeah.
However, like you have no audience. So
Right.
it's like, it's kind of weird because it's like, then by the time you have all these people that are like really excited about seeing your content, you're like, well, I just like entertained myself for the last year. Now I feel like not doing it as much.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. I think we had this conversation before years ago. It's like when you have that group of people that just like dig what you're doing, it's just so weird to you, right? It's like, holy crap, this is so weird because this is not my 9 to 5. I just do this for fun. And people like your content. It's becomes sort of addicting initially.
It
right?
totally is. Yeah. It definitely is.
Because, you know, you and I, we're not in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
And essentially what we're doing here on YouTube, it's like you're the cinematographer, you're the audio engineer, you're the content creator. You're a one-man show. You make this content and people like it. And it's like, whoa, that's just so weird. You know,
I know you've heard this story before, but there's a lot of people on this channel that probably haven't. And for those of you guys that don't know, Savant was the very first subscriber on my channel that wasn't one of my friends. And I remember like, who's this Asian dude that like, and you were like, good video, man. And I was like, this guy's full of shit, man. Cause like I do IT and I mean, you know what I'm talking about, James, like doing IT, like you're instantly a cynic of anybody on the internet. Right. You know, you're like, yeah, whatever. This guy's a troll, you know? And so like, I remember like talking to my family, like this guy subscribed. He said he likes the video. I don't believe it at all. And then it like turned out to be like a legit dude that I'm still friends with, you know?
I remember those earlier videos. I think you were in a different home back then.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You were doing your videos from your garage.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a 1-car garage. It was pretty small.
Yeah.
And you
had
had like stacks of stuff on both sides of your garage. And I just remember seeing like this big, like yellow canoe or something. And I think you still have it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're right over there. Little kayaks.
Yeah. And I think you had just got your Bronson at the time. And
yeah, I did. That was like, basically it didn't like, I don't know how that actually like, I don't think it like played out that way on purpose. I want to say it was because it took, I remember I used to always joke, I like had to like sell my house to get it must have been it. Cause it was like, we were selling the house.
Yeah.
And because we were selling the house, like I was able to have some money and that's what like basically afforded me to buy this badass bike. Cause otherwise I was riding like a 10-year-old, I upgraded everything.
Cannondale. Yeah. I remember that. And I think like the first video that I watched, it was like, you just got the Bronson and like, just the look on your face, it was like a kid on Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like,
that was a big step, man. You know, to go from a bike that, you know, is so old and you're kind of, let me take a step back. To buy a bike that costs $5,000, like that's huge. At least it was for me then, and it still is for me now. I mean, that's not like chump change, you know what I mean? So it took a lot for me to be able to afford that, you know, and man, I was impressed. I just sold that bike.
I saw that.
Yeah, man, it was really hard to let it go.
Who'd you sell it to?
I don't know, some dude on Craigslist or Facebook or whatever, man.
Is it one of these COVID people that are just like getting into the sport, or was it somebody?
I think so. Yeah, I think he was just getting into it because I asked him if he was upgrading or not, and he said his buddy was like helping him find the bike. Because at first his buddy was talking to me, and then it was like, you know, it's one of those things where, like, once again with the internet, you know, you're always like, what's going on here? Like, when's the scam coming? Are you guys going to tell me? So let me write you a cashier's check. And you're like, I'm good, dude.
Yeah.
But no, he said he was just getting into it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, dude, for just getting into it, like, get this bike, like, even though it's used, like, that thing is dialed, man. Like, and then, you know, I went, I had the suspension, both the fork and the shock, like, serviced, and I just so happened to just break the crank. So they got a new carbon crank and new chain ring. You know what I mean? So it was like pretty much like the brakes that were on it, I just took off the new Bronson that I got. So they're like brand new code brakes. So it's like a lot of the stuff on there is pretty new.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah.
A lot of memories on that bike for sure. I'm sure it was hard to let that go.
Yeah, you know, and once you like clean it all up. And I put new decals on it because I took all the biker stuff off, and it's like, well, then it looks all pretty, you know. And now the new Bronson's like sitting in the garage all dusty because I just took it off the trail and like looks all dingy, and then that thing's all shiny and stuff. You're like,
are you gonna make a video about it with the montage of all the good memories you've had?
I should, dude. You know, honestly, I have so many video ideas, but like so little motivation. At this point, I'm targeting to have a video out once a month. And I would love to tell everybody that I actually spend a month like editing the videos, but really what happens is I spend 3.5 weeks like procrastinating working on the video.
Yeah.
And then I do it in the same amount of time that I was doing it when I was doing one a week.
Yeah, I feel you too. I feel like if I give myself a target, that usually doesn't help me. Like if I say I'm going to do a video once a month, once a week, I'll just procrastinate. I think like if you're one of those people that like you just put out a video and you're like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that for a while. Like I feel like that's a kind of warning sign that you're not going to have the longevity to really be successful with YouTube.
Yeah, you know, I think for me it was like I got like when I first started, like we were talking about it earlier, I was just super motivated, and you know, essentially I worked like a full-time job for a year and didn't get anything, like no money. You know what I mean? So it's like to put 40, 50 hours a week into something for a year, and I wasn't quitting my job anytime soon. And it wasn't like I had like shit. I mean, I just now have 10,000 subscribers on that channel. So it was like, I think what happened was I kind of like realized like, dude, you need to like work out this like balance a little bit more, you know, and do like be happy for what you have and appreciate that. And also like do it in a way that's sustainable. Cause if I tried to keep doing that, there was a couple of nights where I just like walked out in the garage and I was like, screw this, dude. I'm over it. I'm done. You know?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning when you were really into YouTube and you had that 40-hour a week job, you know, chances are you ignored half of those hours, right? Because you were just so distracted with YouTube, just answering comments, editing, or whatever, right? So, yeah, it's all about balance. I think finding that right balance. I've got a young child too, so she's 4 years old now, so she's very demanding. And she demands my time a lot more than she was when she was an infant, right? So it's all about balance for me. And so I try not to like take on too many obligations. When I say obligations, things like product reviews, like I get a lot of emails from companies, but I say more, I say no more than I say yes. I probably turn down like 90% of the offers just because I don't want that commitment of like having to make a video for that, right?
Yeah. It sucks whenever you have that, because those things kind of build on you, you know, and you end up having like 3 of them to do. And you're like, crap, I haven't done that yet. And it just starts like, I don't know for about you, but my personality is like, whenever I'm being like forced into doing something, it makes me want to do it less, even though like I'm the one that agreed to like do the product review. But it's like, once they start piling up, like then I start feeling like I procrastinate even more because it's like my defense mechanism or something. I don't know.
I feel that way too, but it's like, you know, like sometimes you could procrastinate at work or at school, and you know, when there's a deadline, you end up getting it done somehow, right? Whether it be last minute or whatever. Like if you really wanted to, you could probably get that video out, but there's no obligation for you outside of what you feel you owe to your viewers, right? And I'll give you a good example because I started doing some product reviews with Vital MTB, and those have very specific like deadlines because like the product is dropping at this particular day, so it has to happen, right? And so as busy as I am, I make content for my own channel, but I still have to find time to make that video for Vital, which I do. So it's one of those things where if there's a deadline and it has to be done, you'll find a way to make it, right? But something else has to give, like you said.
Yeah, I think that's what I realized too. I didn't realize like how much in the first, like, let's just say like 2 years of me doing YouTube, like how much I blew off maybe my job or my relationship with the lady or things with the kids. Cause you know, you're doing it here and there, you know, you're like, oh, I was at dinner, but you were also like ate dinner, walked away and went back to editing, you know, and like, those kind of things. And it's just,
it's really crappy, but those are the things that are just easy to take advantage of, right?
Yeah.
Until they're gone. So
yeah.
boy, this podcast is starting off in a dark place, isn't it?
Right? What the hell, man? So next on Suicide Watch, MTB Savant and B1KER. It's 2020, man. It's going to just be dark all year. So we just need to just keep going with it.
It's been a rough year, especially in California.
Oh my God. It's like you can't get a break. The last few days, the sun was out. You could see blue in the sky. I left this morning for the ride that I went on kind of up in the hills towards Tahoe, and get up there, ride all day. Great. Come back down the hill, and it just looks like I don't even know, like a bar at like 2 a.m. just back whenever everybody could smoke inside. It was just like Cheech and Chong's car. It was just like Sacramento's like hot boxed right now. It just looks awful. It makes you not want to go outside. It makes you not want to do anything.
Yeah. But the silver lining is it really makes you appreciate when the air is clear, right?
Yeah.
So you're more apt to get out for the ride. But yeah, I hear you. This year has been rough for California. I mean, like the heat waves and the power outages and now the wildfires. It's like, I don't even want to think about what's next.
Yeah. Have you been riding much?
I have been, because I've been working from home. So I've got pockets of time, usually early in the morning or during meetings. So I live like 15 minutes away from Joaquin Miller Park. So that's my go-to spot.
Do you ride there?
I do, yeah.
That's probably a plus, because I just keep hearing about like 20 cars getting broken into like on a daily basis over there.
Yeah, that's been a big problem. Although it's sort of died down lately. But yeah, there was a streak where like the whole Joaquin Miller Road was littered with glass.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah, it was like almost every day. It'd be like 20 today. Yesterday was 19. Today was 32, or tomorrow's 32. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of always been a problem in Oakland and San Francisco, but there's just been a rash of those lately. I don't know if it's just because there's more people out there, but I don't know. My view, it's like you should just not feed the trolls. Don't leave anything in your car that's worth anything, right? I never lock my car and never leave anything in there that's worth any value. So I've been pretty lucky so far.
Right. What's your address again? What kind of car you have? Yeah, I live downtown Sacramento. It's kind of the same thing. You're just trained to like not leave anything out, and so it just is what it is. I go to my friend's house and they're like, oh, just leave all the shit in the car. It doesn't matter. I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? So, you got some new bikes, huh?
I did, yeah. I refreshed my whole fleet essentially. So I had the Yeti SP 4.5 for a long time. I think when we first rode, I had that bike.
No, you had something before that.
I had the SP5, which is the 27.5 trail bike. I bought that like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was the bike you had when I first met you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I had that, and then I had the Yeti SP 4.5, which is the short travel 29er. And I had those both for just a few months, and then just decided I love 29ers. I sold the SP5. Yeah. And then held on to the SP 4.5 for a while, and then just sold it, I think, like May of this year.
So you have like no Yetis now? Is that what's up?
I have no Yetis, yeah. As my friend Brian would say.
Decided you weren't going to be a dentist anymore, huh?
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I'm going to be a chiropractor now.
Yeah, no Yetis. Sold it. Got the Transition Spur, which is a short travel 29er. Loved that bike.
Why did you decide to get rid of a perfectly like well-balanced Yeti that for a transition? Like, no offense, but like not many people knew who they were. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if I told you the story, but like I love my SP 4.5, and the only bike I would have sold it for was a replacement from Yeti. And so I started hearing rumors that a replacement was going to come out, but when it came out, it wasn't what I expected. It was the SB 115, which is essentially like the SB 100, but like a long stroked version. Yeah. So it's like, wasn't really what I was looking for. And I had already sold my Yeti in anticipation of that bike.
Oh, and really? So you sold the Yeti thinking you were getting a new Yeti.
Which you should never do, by the way. That's like the worst advice. That's the worst thing to do ever. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't sell your bike. it's tempting because like there's such a good used market right now for bikes, right? Because there's like nothing's in stock. So like everyone's buying stuff on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, which is like good for sellers. But the problem is you sell your bike too early and you can't get anything that's in stock.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I sold my bike too early.
You can buy a new bike right now. I told one of my buddies like, hey, go buy this Giant, because he's like looking for something low cost. And he's like, yeah, I went into the shop and they were like, we could get it to you by April.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, well.
Yeah, the Spur that I bought is sold out until I think around that time, spring of next year, which is insane.
So how did you get into like what was it that it was just like you got hit up by one of those Facebook ads for the Transition Spur and you were like, oh, what's this?
No, I kind of had what I wanted in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. It's like I love my SB 4.5. I love that it has, not a lot of travel. I like that it's lightweight. I love that it's versatile. Like I could take it on a cross country ride and not feel overbiked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted that with just like a little bit more upgraded geometry, like something a little bit slacker in the head tube angle, a little bit steeper in the seat tube angle. My 4.5 doesn't have a bottle cage. I know that's not a big deal for some people, but it was for me. So I just wanted like my bike just a little bit more updated. Mm-hmm. And I was really hoping Yeti would make it. And unfortunately that didn't happen. So
I could see if you're doing lunch rides like out of your house and it's that close to your house that a bottle cage would be like severely important,
In fact, I don't even fill my water bottle with water. I just put it on the bike because at Joaquin Miller, there are water fountains as you do the loops, right? So you just refill a little bit as you go.
Nice.
So it's just more convenient than like having to refill a bladder, right?
Yeah, totally. I have like gone so far like 180 from where I was like a year and a half ago with that kind of stuff. Like I used to be always 100% Camelback, like 3 liters of water all the time. You know what I mean? And like carrying so much stuff that I like never used ever. Like, I have these 14 different sizes of zip ties just in case something happens. And, I like carried all this stuff for so long. And then I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know right off the top of my head right now, but somehow I started like wanting to only carry the water on my bike, and then it was like, and I tried like a hip pack, and I don't mind the hip packs too much for the ones that are like carrying the water bottles, but I haven't found a bladder one that I like. But if I can just put 2 bottles on my bike and get away with that, or like have a ride where I'm like looping back by my car if I need to like fill back up, that's like my dream to do right now. Like I'm trying to ride with no pack, no hip pack. Like I just want everything there.
You know what's happening, Robert? It's you're slowly transitioning from XC to full enduro. So
is that what it is?
Halfway there, but you're like strapping tubes on your bike soon, and
I have that. I've been doing that for a while. I got that pump too, that EDC pump.
Yeah, so I have that as well. Pump. Yeah,
I couldn't put the tool in my headset because I had this bottle cap up there. I like looking at the bottle cap instead of putting the tool in there. So I was like, oh. But the thing about the tool though is that pump, I just have another mount on my hardtail, and then I can just move it right in between the 2 bikes, which is pretty handy then,
Yeah.
So it's nice to not have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple of friends that have like specialized bikes and they have the SWAT box.
Oh, I wish.
And they're just like, I know, right? Like they're just so hooked on it, they just can't get another bike that doesn't have it. And I can see. Totally.
I can totally understand. I don't even understand why the other bike companies aren't like, that was a good idea.
Knowing Specialized is probably a patent there. Who knows? Although the Trek bikes now have them as well. So who knows?
Oh, really? Well,
maybe you have to have like lawyers that are willing to
I'm sure they worked out some kind of deal between the 2 of them, right?
Yeah. But it's just a hole in the frame. How can that be patented?
Yeah. It's probably like the door or something like that,
Yeah.
Like nobody else can come up with another door. They're like, I don't know how to do that, man. So
right.
It's some things on bikes like blow your mind that it takes so long for them to figure out. Like Santa Cruz, I noticed it on a truck today, starting to put like an extra like bumper underneath your frame, like where it scratches from being on the tailgate.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Why did it take bike companies like friggin' 20 years to come up with that? Like everybody's bike has been scratched there, and they're like, oh,
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they just rely on like the third party companies to make something. But does your Bronson have that?
The new Bronson does. Yeah,
It does.
I think. Let me look at the 5010. No, I think this year's 5010 might have that there too, because they changed the. But yeah, I mean, it's like
it's the little touches. Like you don't think you need that, but then when you have it, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't know if I could live without that now. You know?
Yeah, totally.
It's like having a well-designed chainstay protector that keeps your bike nice and quiet. Like you demo a bike that doesn't have it, you're like, oh my God, this is like, feels like it's going to fall apart.
I don't understand why Santa Cruz has some of their bikes have like the little thing on the top, like the Mega Tower, like that you cut on your, I think it was your Yeti, you cut that Mega Tower one.
Yeah.
So some of the chain protectors have the little like ridges on top of them, and some of them don't. And it's
I think it depends on when the frame came out. Like it's not just Santa Cruz now, like all the other bike companies are catching on where they're integrating it into the frame, which I think is a great idea because it works. And so that's one of the touches that like, if you're buying a bike in 2020 and it doesn't have that, it's kind of a letdown, right? It's like, oh, I gotta figure out a way to make it quiet myself. Or a bike in 2020 that has like noisy internal cable routing. It's like, come on, guys, like other companies have figured this out. I shouldn't have to deal with this.
Yeah, my Chameleon's
first world problems. Your Chameleon? You still have your Chameleon?
I had. Well, I sold the aluminum one, and I
that's right.
Kind of made everybody, carbon. Yeah, I made everybody think I was getting another bike, but I was really just upgrading the frame. I was like, that's it. Oh man, I totally got everybody on that video too, because I like told everybody like how awesome this bike is for the whole video, and then at the end I'm like, I'm gonna sell it. And then that was like a nightmare because I bought that frame in January. It was like right when COVID started, like in overseas. Yeah. So basically, whenever I paid for it in January, they were like, "Yeah, I'll be here in 2 weeks." And then all of a sudden, like the next day on the news, they were like, "China's closed," you know. And then it took like 4 months for it to come in. It was like, "Oh my God!" And like at that point, it was kind of like I had already sold the other bike. And I was like so in love with my hardtail, and now it was like gone. You're riding a hardtail now too, right?
I have one in my garage. I have a Schwinn, which is that $400 Walmart hardtail.
But you kind of upgraded it though, right?
Yeah, I put some pieces together that I had laying around in my garage. I still ride it. I live like down the street from Chabot. I don't know if you've ever ridden there, but it's just like cross country trails.
Yeah.
So if I have like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to burn in between meetings, I'll just grab a Schwinn and pedal up to Chabot and just do a couple laps there. So
that's awesome, man. I wish I had something that close. The only thing I can do right out my door is ride road bike. So it's like, as much as I don't want to do it, it's like easy to do though, to get some like real quick, burn some calories, you know?
Yeah.
And eventually I'll be able to say I'm just burning those calories so I can drink more beer, but lately I've not been drinking beer.
Good for you.
Yeah, good for you. I don't know if that's good for me or not. I mean, it's probably good for my waistline. It's probably good for my bank account, but I don't know how it does for my my personal I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think you get it though.
Yeah.
I like being drunk. That's what I'm getting at.
It is fun once in a while.
Yeah, especially days that end in Y. I mean, it's like I don't really see what the problem is here.
Yeah.
So I mean, did you catch the hardtail bug with that thing? Or are you like thinking about getting like a legit one with some better geometry or what?
You know, if anything, I think that bike's just sort of opened my eyes to just how fun bikes are in general. Like, I think I don't know if I talked to you or Joseph about this in the past, but like there's a clear divide in the bike world between like mid to high end and budget. They're like two different worlds. I don't know if you noticed that, right? Yeah. And there's channels obviously dedicated to either side. Like Kev Central does a really good job at like focusing on department store bikes and upgrading those departments. Like he's absolutely killing it. Yeah. Because it turns out that's the bigger market for mountain bike riders. Like there's more people in that price range than there are like looking for carbon Bronsons and Yetis, right? Like our channels, if you just focus on the high end, not only are you in the niche channel because you're a mountain bike channel, but you're also a niche because you're like on the high end as well, right? So it's like you're not going to get that big market share of viewers as you would if you're just like, you know, at $800 specialized hard rock, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think if anything, like I haven't really spent a lot of time on that like side of the market. And once I started to sort of explore that a little bit, like it's super fun. Like it's not just about hardtails, but like the difference between like a $800 hardtail and I don't know, $1,800 hardtail, like there isn't that much difference.
Not a whole lot. Yeah, I mean my Chameleon, when I bought the first one, the aluminum one, it was like $1,700. It was the aluminum, the bottom of the line build.
Yeah.
And I mean, something between that and like maybe one that's like $1,000, like what you're saying. It's really just some component difference, you know.
Yeah.
I had NX instead of, you know, the cheaper one would have whatever is like I don't even know what those are. You know, like Shimano has like a Laro or something. I don't even know what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. You know, it's like they have like these knockoff kind of like brand forks or something like that. But at the end of the day, like, you're right. It is ridiculous to like get into mountain biking and think that you have to have a 3,000, 5,000.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And it is I hate to say this, but there are a lot of I don't want to say like snobs, but like, you know, there are a lot of people on the high end side that wouldn't be caught dead looking at those other bikes.
Yeah.
But they're really fun too. I mean, they're different. They're not as capable, and obviously the brakes and suspension might not be as good, but you can just slap on good tires on a lot of those bikes and absolutely shred. So
yeah. I can tell you that I've had my ass kicked by guys on shitty bikes plenty of times. So obviously it doesn't have anything to do with how good the bike is, because
that's kind of cool though, right? Because you could, like, if you're into cars and you buy a Corvette, like you're going to be instantly faster than like anybody else, right? Like, you know, with bikes, that's not the case, right? Because obviously skill comes into it way more than anything else.
Yeah, one of my friends the other day, I was riding, or not the other day. I'm a typical guy. Like the other day could be anywhere between 1 week and 7 years. So, so anyways, I was riding with my buddy like a month or two ago, and you know, we were riding this place that was like up and down, you know, like kind of punchy up, punchy down kind of thing. And he didn't have a dropper. And I just remember like thinking like, how the hell is he riding like this? But he was whooping my ass. You know, it's like I can't even think about pedaling that way anymore, you know? And it's like, yeah, I mean, I think you just learn to work around it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to be as comfortable, but you could be a lot faster if you have the skills. It doesn't really matter what you ride. And that's really cool that you really let your skills do the talking, not necessarily how expensive your bike is.
Yeah. Yeah. I just need to buy an expensive bike to make up for my lack of skills. So
could be some of that too.
That's pretty much what I'm shooting for. That, or at least that way, like you got to look the part if you can't be the part, you know, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to like self-deprecate a lot, and then I end up like making people think that I'm a horrible rider, and then they go ride with me and they're like, oh, this guy is actually
you're not nearly as bad as you say you are. I remember thinking about that when we rode Toads.
Yeah.
Like, this guy rips. I don't know what he's talking about.
Clint would always tell me, C-Lock, he'd always be like, dude, you're setting these people up for failure, man. Because they're like, this dude's 300 pounds. He should, if he can do this ride, I can do this ride. And then they go out there and then they're like, holy shit, I'm dying. And then like, I'm just fat because I eat too much chicken wings and love beer too much. Not because I'm not out at like, I can't ride. Like, what is wrong with me? I'm really bummed right now too, dude. I am like, I'm a few pounds away from being under 250, and that puts me in a whole new bracket on fucking Strava. So there goes all of my like making me look like a fast guy because I was over in the 250 pound club.
Oh,
So now I'm going to fall in, instead of like being number 10 in the 250-pound club, on the trail, I'm going to be like number 4,207.
okay. I didn't know there were brackets for weight in
Yeah,
Strava.
there's only one bracket for weight. So it's like everybody and then fat guys. So you have ages as well. So I'm hoping that like the next 2 years goes by quick, because I think that's what I need to get into the next age bracket, and then maybe it'll bump me up some.
Nice. So you'll be under 250, you said?
Yeah, I'm almost there.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
what's your goal?
220.
Okay. You're almost there.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how, obviously it's been a shit ton of work. And, but yeah, no, it's just, I've lost a bunch of weight in the past, and every time it's just a matter of like actually getting the mindset of, okay, this is what I'm doing,
Yeah.
And then you just have to do it, and it sounds so simple because it really is. But on the other hand, it's like, it's hard to say no, like today, like we did this fun ass ride and everybody's having beers. And I'm like, do I want to drink 300 calories or do I want to like eat some more of this burger and not, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm sure
that's always hard when everyone around you is drinking. That must be hard.
Yeah. All my friends are alcoholics.
You need new friends.
Right?
You ditch that Sea-Lock guy. He's bad for you. I'm telling you.
Go down to AA and like just be like, anybody here ride bikes and not smoke cigarettes and drink too much coffee?
Right.
And then one dude's like, I ride bikes, but I still do heroin. So these bikes are stolen. No, I'm just like,
right on, dude. I'm glad you're almost to your goal. That's
That's
great news.
No, I'm super stoked, man. Honestly, it's just the main thing I've been telling everybody is I can't wait to get to my goal weight so I can start working on getting fat again, because it's way more fun getting fat than it is losing weight. And it took me like 10 years to get this fat. So it's like, dude, it won't take that long. Dude, it's going to be so much fun.
Nice.
The goal is actually just, keep the same, as long as I'm doing all the things that I'm doing right now. At that point, I'll be able to eat whatever I want and drink the beer that I want to drink, and I'm not going to be.
You mean maintain your schedule, workout schedule, essentially?
Yeah, and that's basically what happened between the last time I was 220 and when I hit 300. Was I stopped doing all the other shit, and I stopped giving a fuck about what I was eating, and then it keeps coming, and an injury here or there that keeps me out like, for example, somewhere along that line is whenever I screwed up my shoulder and I couldn't ride for like 6 months. So it was like the only thing that I was doing that was healthy was riding bikes. And then I took that away. And then, of course, if I wasn't able to ride bikes, then I was like, I'm going to drink more beer. I'm going to eat more crappy food. Yeah. That makes me feel good, and like you just add it on. You add it on. So,
yeah, it's hard because like bikes is like the only cardio that I really do. That I really enjoy doing. So if I wasn't able to ride from injury, like I'd have a really rough time too.
Yeah. I used to run a lot and ride bikes. And I started running again. Before I started this diet, I started running again. And then I was like, I just don't really want to do this. Like
I don't know how you can run. That's just so hard on the body.
Yeah. It's just like, the only reason I did, like, because I was in the military, you know what I mean? So it's like you have like these like, oh, that's how you get in shape. You run, you do push-ups, freaking jumping jacks, and then you're skinny again, So it's like, but then I just decided, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna ride more road bike, even though I can't stand it. Like that'll be good cardio there, and then I'm gonna ride more mountain bike, and I'm gonna eat right, and that's really all I've done, and like, what is it at this point? Last time I weighed in, I had lost 42 pounds.
Nice.
So, yeah. But yeah, who knows, man?
Can't wait to see the video, Robert.
Right? Yeah, I think I got, I got to weigh in on Monday, and so tomorrow. And then I have a week until I should be getting like almost having that other video out. So that means I'm going to have to start editing it probably tomorrow. And that was me procrastinating. So more than likely I won't start editing until like Wednesday or Thursday. It's ridiculous. How about you, man? You catch any COVID weight?
I think I did originally, like when the first lockdown occurred, like I didn't ride for probably 5 weeks. That was really hard. That was really hard. So I definitely put on weight. I didn't weigh myself. I just kind of felt it, like I put on like weight on my midsection and my face. Like those are the only two places I put on weight.
Yeah.
And the wife definitely noticed like those two were getting bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I started riding more and more. And now I think I'm like skinnier this year than I was last year.
Oh, wow. Right on, dude.
So just from riding more 4 or 5 days a week, even if they're not long rides, just something short, like 5 miles, as long as you get your heart rate up and you're pushing pretty hard. Like, that's all that matters.
You guys have some pretty punchy hills over where you're at. So, I mean, I'm sure you can get that like pretty easy.
Yeah. There's definitely some elevation here that helps too. I think where you are, it's pretty flat, right? You have to kind of
Sacramento. Yeah,
you got to drive about half an hour away to get some hills.
Yeah, pretty much. Anywhere I'm like doing like regular real mountain biking is going to be at least 30, 45 minutes away.
Still, so even on a road bike, you can push pretty hard, right?
Yeah,
that's wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really like as much as I've ridden the road bike lately, it's just really helped my endurance a lot. Like tremendously helped my endurance. And I mean, at this point, almost every ride I go on, I'm setting new PRs. And it's, I don't know how much of I think the road bike is like part of it where I can like pedal through where I would have maybe stopped and took a break. But I think the thing that's actually helping more is the working out. Is like my core strength is way stronger. So I'm like more like I'm being able to throw my bike around and not be like just wearing myself like totally out, and I'm like having that because I don't know, maybe because I'm doing a bunch of like squats and lunges and shit like that. So it's like having that like that extra muscle to like punch up through some rocky section and then have the endurance to keep pedaling after that.
Well, it's not only just getting stronger, but also just less weight to move around, right? So it's a good combination of those two things that are helping you.
Yeah, I mean, I pick up, the dumbbell that's 40 pounds, and I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot. Like I was telling people in my last video, like at that point, I think it was like 30 pounds or right around then or something like that, and it was like, go pick up a bag of dog food at the grocery store. Like that's what I was carrying around, the big bag, and it's like. That's freaking heavy, man. That's kind of crazy. I don't know. I didn't think, I didn't really think about it in that aspect. I mean, I'm sure I did, but you really notice it, when it's gone. So you think you're going to keep this transition for a long time, or are you already eyeing something up?
I love this bike. I'm going to keep this one for a while. And I kind of know that I am because like, I already registered the bike, through their website. Like I never do that. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I never do.
That's kind of a sign that I'm going to keep this for a while. And then I started like thinking about just already, this is kind of crazy because the bike is only 2 months old, but like buying replacement bearings so that I have those ready to go for next year. So I'm already like,
you're such a planner.
I'm already planning the wedding and even though this is the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, my bearings were like starting to go on the Bronson. I'm like, I think I need to get a new bike.
That's the right way to think about it.
That's it. This thing's done.
So how are you liking the new bike?
Dude, this thing climbs like you wouldn't even believe it, man. Like it's kind of a weird happenstance, but C-Lock ended up getting a new Bronson at the same time that I did. And I just like a family member had bought one and just wasn't able to like physically, like some kind of medical thing. They couldn't ride it. So they were like, hey, I'll give you a good deal on this. And he was like, I really like my bike, but that one's new. I don't want to see it, you know. So he got that at the same time, and both of us have like this thing climbs so much better than my old one.
Really?
And yeah, and there's some things about it that I've been really surprised that when I demoed this bike, like when it first came out, and I remember like thinking that I still liked my bike more because I felt like my version was the V2 is like a little more poppy, and I still feel that way. But there's some stuff with this one that I feel like I just didn't have enough time on the bike to really understand like how much better it is. Yeah. First of all, like I said, like and you could say it's because I'm in better shape, but I mean, I was riding my other Bronson like 2 weeks ago. So like, it's not like all of a sudden I got this bike and I just got super strong, you know, like I seriously like have PR'd like some climbs that I haven't PR'd in a long time, you know, by like 2 minutes, you know? And, so, and then also C-Lock is saying the same thing. He's like, dude, I'm just like, this thing climbs. And then the other thing is like, it just handles really good. Like you drop the handlebar in a turn and it just like whips, you know, and I didn't feel that the same way. I mean, obviously the other bike was a great bike, you know.
What year was your old Bronson? Was it a 2015?
2017.
Okay.
So
okay.
It was
the last generation, right?
Yeah, it was just the last generation. Okay. So
yeah, a lot's changed in just a few years though. Like, you know, right? The bikes have become longer. I think you rode a large Bronson before. Is this a large or an extra large?
It's still a large.
Okay.
I did size up whenever I got the carbon frame on the hardtail.
Yeah.
But that was just so that it would like dampen the trail out a little.
But even from large to large, just from going from that generation to this generation, the reach is longer. Yeah. Right? Just the overall wheelbase is longer. So it probably fits you a little bit better.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Because I noticed I'm not over the handlebars as much as I was before. So, I mean, my seat's still slammed all the way back. So, I mean, it's not like I think I'm just more comfortable, and, you know, I'm probably in just a better position. So, yeah, but yeah, it's just really, really surprising. And, how much better. And like the conversation that I keep having with random people is like, how do you like fathom that it's going to get better than this?
That's a good question.
You know?
Yeah, it will. The question is how. Well, here's the thing. Is it really better though? Because I have theories that say it's not really better or worse, just different, right? And bikes are evolving based on how riders are riding and where we're riding, which is different than it was 10 years ago, right? Yeah. So like, for instance, I think like some of it has to do with the rise of enduro racing as well, which is only like 6 years old. I think the first EWS was 2013, right? And that was kind of the first. Well, not first. There was always downhill racing, but like enduro racing is like, you know, you don't time the ups. It's all about ripping downhills on bikes that you and I can buy, right? We wouldn't buy a downhill bike, right?
Right.
So like that style of bike really just became really popular, where people, you know, don't necessarily like prioritize the climbing portion. They climb up to go down, right? So I think like that's kind of the way most people ride now. Whereas like, you know, that Cannondale that you had 10 years ago, that was like much steeper and it was more suited to climbing than maybe descending, right?
Yeah, and that bike was at the time, like, I remember, because it had like 5 inches of travel.
Right.
And I remember people being like, what are you getting a bike with 5 inches of travel for? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't know.
It was much simpler back then. You had one wheel size, you had 4 inches for cross country, and you have 5 inches for all mountain and, you know, basically downhill bikes. Yeah. And now there's like so many different categories. It's so confusing.
It really is. Like, it's, you know, you don't realize how confusing it is until you start talking to somebody that like if you've had a friend that you're trying to bring into the sport.
Oh, forget about it.
Oh man, you're like, you find yourself real quick like, blah, 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 like speaking all this crap out to them, and you're like, no wonder they are like freaked out and they don't want to do it, you know?
I know. It's kind of something that I've been thinking about for a while. There's the barrier of entry is even higher now because like not only bikes are expensive, but like there's so many different choices now, right? Yeah. And depending on who you ask, they may be biased towards one kind of bike than another that may or may not be the right choice for that person. So anytime there's a new standard, anytime there's a new wheel size, there are differing opinions about that. Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas before that wasn't really an argument. There was one wheel size. Right.
Yeah.
So it was much simpler back then. And yeah, as you said, it's really complicated for somebody to jump in now and understand what the right bike is for them.
I think it's hard too for them to realize that, like, hey, you could get this used bike that's like 3 or 4 years old that was like let's just say is a $6,000 bike then. And it's actually not better than the $1,200 one that's brand new now.
Yeah,
like the way that the geometry has changed and stuff like that is like so dramatic. Where I mean, I just went through this with a friend recently that's thinking about getting into it. And I'm like, look, buy this $1,200 stance. Like, it's a full suspension bike. It will be a great bike for you to start building an opinion on. Like, because that is right now, if like you're not going to have an opinion of whether or not you want 27.5 or you want 29 or whether or not you like fat wheels or skinny wheels or plus you know what I mean? Like you have to ride to make an opinion. And for a bike like that, that's like 12, I think it's like $1,300 or something like that for a full suspension bike.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go out there and ride the shit out of that thing.
Yeah.
You sold it for half of what you paid for it in a year. Right?
Yeah.
$600. Like, that's a pretty good deal if you ask me,
Yeah, I think like I get a lot of questions on Instagram. People ask me about bike advice, and it's really hard for me to give specific model advice. Mm-hmm. I think like once you choose a category of bike, mm-hmm. like once you get that part right, like what model you choose within that category, I would say almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example. So I've been riding this transition spur, which by all accounts is kind of like a cutting edge. I hate to say the word downcountry, but like an aggressive XC bike, right?
Right.
Like it has pretty modern geometry. It's pretty progressive in that sense. Mm-hmm. And then I rode this Yeti SB115, which is essentially kind of an outdated bike in comparison, on paper at least. Mm-hmm. And I rode both of those back to back in my home trails. I had an absolute blast on both of them. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, for me to review it, I may prefer the Spur, but that's just from a bike geek perspective. You know what I mean? Like most people don't choose a bike because it's a degree steeper and a half a degree. They don't really understand the geometry numbers. They just really, maybe they like the color, or they like Yeti more than Transition, or whatever's in stock right now from the dealer. Like those factors are bigger than what most bike reviewers and bike geeks talk about on videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not good at that stuff either. It's just not like in my skill set. I'm like, I just get on the bike and pedal it, and if I had fun, then I was like, yeah, that was a good one. They're like, the geometry was backwards. I'm like, I didn't even notice that I put the tire on backwards. It just still had fun, so I thought it was good.
I mean, can you imagine watching a YouTube channel where like a bunch of wine snobs sat around and talked about different years and harvests and it's kind of the same thing if you think about it. It's like for most people, they just drink the wine that has a cool label and it gets them drunk, right?
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Sorry, don't mean to put that in your head.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, to think about. That's a lot. It's a lot to get into writing,
It's too much. I think the barrier of entry is too much. There needs to be just an easy bike to buy. Like a Model T, you just go to a bike shop, you buy it. And for most people that are just getting into the sport, you should be good to go.
I think that's where the problem lies, is like, because I think that like the hardtails that are coming out right now, they are that bike. But I think that like everybody who's maybe not a mountain biker or who's thinking about getting into mountain biking, they think that they need a full suspension bike.
Well, not only that, they need like 6 inches of travel because Sam Hill on EWS video that they came across on YouTube rides one, right? So there's that. It's
just like, for me, it's like, when I bought my Chameleon, I didn't buy that hardtail like thinking that it was going to be like probably my favorite bike. You know what I mean? Like I bought it because I was like, oh, this would be good for the channel and it'll be something different and make some of my local trails a little harder. But then I was like, holy shit, I'm getting the same downhill times on that bike as I am on my freaking full suspension 6-inch bike. Like,
yeah,
on trails that are like no joke. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, this is fun and surprising, you know, like I think because those old bikes you didn't have, like, or when I rode a hardtail last, it's like you didn't have a dropper.
Yeah.
You didn't have aggressive geometry.
Yeah.
You didn't have a frame that's like flexing in the right spots, you know, like
I think that's a misconception because like a lot of people that have been riding for a while started out with hardtails and their memories of hardtails are the ones from like the late 90s and you know what I mean? Like the early 2000s and they were horrible. Don't get me wrong. So like the idea for them to like get on a hardtail now might be so foreign to them, but they don't realize that the hardtails have advanced, especially in terms of geometry, like any other bike. Right. Yeah. So they've come a long way too. And that's exactly what you just found out yourself, right? Yeah. Like I'm just as fast on this bike because it's a modern geometry hardtail.
Yeah.
And it has all of the good rubber and the good suspension that I can get right now in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, the only downside is like it's gonna beat your back up. You know, like you know, if you're on a trail that's like got a lot of like chatter, you know, like that's gonna
especially if you go really fast on that, like it definitely keeps you in check.
Yeah, but I mean, think about somewhere like Flow or like even Braille or like a lot of the stuff like in UC, like there's not a whole lot of like chunk, you know what I mean? So it's like you have plenty of suspension in your legs, you know. So it's like these people that want to get into it, it's like I buy a hardtail, man. I'm just telling you, buy a hardtail.
Yeah,
you know.
For sure. Hardtails are fun, especially if they're modern hardtails.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't buy an old one. Good Lord. Yeah. That bike really surprised me. And I think that is what really started me on this like path of most of the time we're all overgunned, you know, and I don't understand why people are buying these like mega towers and like, didn't you have one?
I did have one. I sold it, but yeah, I have opinions about that too.
Why did you do that?
Well,
I mean, why'd you buy it in the first place?
I think like I had the
short travel bike.
I had the short travel for a long time. It was more of just like kind of understanding what it would be like to be overbiked. And don't get me wrong, I could ride the Mega Tower anywhere.
Right.
Like it's a fine bike. Am I going to be faster on most of my trails? Probably not, because there's just more bike to move around. It's harder for me to climb. I'm probably going to do less miles on it because I'm less willing to do that last loop when I'm already tired on the Mega Tower. But for, you know, the small percentage of the rides that are chunky, which are not very often, but that 5% of the time where I need it, I have it. So that's why a lot of people buy those kind of bikes.
Yeah.
Because they figure it's better to have it than not have it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've done Downeyville on a 140 millimeter fork, you know, and I've done it on a 160 millimeter fork, and the times are like the same, you know. So to get a 170 millimeter fork, or in some cases, is the Mega Tower 180?
No, it's 160.
It's 160?
160 front rear. Yep.
But it's 29er. Okay, yeah.
29er.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I thought it was bigger than that, actually. I thought it was a 170 or something like that.
Well, here's the funny thing. Like, if you look at the Mega Tower, that came out before the High Tower came out. It came out before the Tall Boy came out, right? So you think Mega Tower is this like monster downhill bike, right? But if you look at the geometry numbers on the Mega Tower compared to the High Tower and even Tall Boy, they're almost identical.
Yeah.
Even in terms of frame weight, they're pretty close as well. So it's more about like they've kind of settled on this sort of geometry for like trail riding, enduro riding. And then really what you're buying is just additional travel.
Yeah.
So the Mega Tower is just not as big as a bike as a lot of people think it is. I guess
I think if I was buying if I was buying another bike that wasn't an e-bike, because that's really what I would like to buy it if I could right now.
That's a whole other topic,
right? Yeah, you don't have time for that. I think I would go for a short travel 29er. Like I just think like a tall boy, or like the bike that you had when I watched your video. I was like, man, that sounds fun. Or the Yeti, like that 115, or what's the new one, the 100?
Yeah, the Yeti, the Yeti SB115.
Yeah,
which is essentially a long stroked Yeti SB100 that's been out for a couple of years. But yeah, those bikes are definitely fun. I was a little scared that those bikes wouldn't exist anymore because like, again, a lot of the bikes that used to be in that category moved up, like the Tall Boy being a good example. It still had 120 millimeters of travel in the current model, but it's pretty raked out, right? It's a 65-degree head tube angle, I believe. So it's closer to the numbers of the Mega Tower. So that kind of concerned me a little bit, that these sort of bikes like the Transition Spur like would cease to exist, right? And I'm glad it came out. That was kind of a surprise that it came out from Transition of all companies, which is really not known for producing bikes in that category.
Right.
But it's refreshing to see a bike that came out in 2020 that's like optimized for both climbing and descending. So it's a super fun bike. And I'm not sponsored in any way, obviously.
Yeah. How much do you what's the travel of the fork?
It's 120. It's 120, 120.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a super lightweight frame.
It's 29er?
It's a 29er, 120, 120. The bike with it's an XO1 build, and it's like 25 pounds, 25.2 pounds.
Dude, that thing must be
super light.
Almost fun to climb, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's like an e-bike, but I think I have another theory that these like 35-pound enduro bikes are pushing people towards e-bikes, because they become so hard to pedal up.
You think?
I think that's part of it. Like bikes in general have become heavier. And so like this whole like 24, 25-pound trail bike, like the Spur, is kind of a rare beast these days. And I think if enough people rode that kind of bike, I'm not saying they wouldn't get an e-bike, but you get some of the benefits of an e-bike without getting an e-bike.
I think you're high.
You need to ride one, Robert.
People are buying e-bikes because like you could just have more fun. That's really what it comes down to. It's like more fun.
Well, riding a 25-pound bike, I personally think is more fun than riding a 35-pound bike most of the time. For most of the trails that I ride. Right.
I hear you. But like instead of like you live right next to the trails and you can go ride it every like day whenever you feel like it. So for the guy that has to drive 30 minutes and is like only has an hour and a half or 2 hours to ride until he has to get home because his kid's there, it's like, hey, I could go up there and spend 45 minutes climbing up this climb and then do one downhill run, or I could go up there and do that 3 times.
Yeah.
With an e-bike. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I'm all for e-bikes. I think there's a place for them in the market, and I think they'll only become more popular. Don't get me wrong. I think that popularity will accelerate if there's less lightweight trail bikes on the market.
Yeah. I think that this is the downside of e-bikes is like you have to like go into it with all your buddies. Like you guys all have to agree you're getting e-bikes.
Yeah. And there's trail access. It's still illegal in most of the trails around here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I see them out there too.
You don't need rules.
There's actually rangers now turning people away on some of these trails. So
I was riding UC the other day. I thought I was getting popped for sure.
You rode UC?
Yeah, I was down there with Richard from Stickered, and
nice.
We popped out, and you know how you just come out of the woods and you're like on 9 there.
9, yep.
And the ranger's sitting there, and his car kind of moved forward a little bit, and I was like,
"This must have been a weekday."
I don't know.
It had to have been.
No, I can't remember honestly. I think it was a weekend, dude. And yeah, I don't know if he like got a text from his girlfriend or something at the same time, but like the car stopped and we just wherever we popped out, you like go up and you do like extra credit or something like that.
Yeah.
And we basically like just pedal our ass off to get up there and pop back onto the trail. And he didn't come, it was like 2 cars passed us. And I was like, I thought for sure it was going to be him, like with the window down. Hey dude, pull over, like, oh man, we got so lucky. I was like, oh God. But honestly, I would have paid it with Stride, because it's like, it is what it is. I don't understand why some place like that is illegal. Like,
I know.
Why can't that, like, how many thousands of dollars are mountain bikers spending in that city every day because of those freaking trails? And they're just gonna like ignore it and then give those guys tickets whenever they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get political in a second if I don't. So.
I know it's a weird situation in Santa Cruz. And to make it more weird, like a lot of the marketing videos from even like the big bike companies, like a lot of their videos are shot there too. So it's definitely tolerated, but it's a weird situation. I don't know if it's ever going to change, because it's been happening for so long. Yeah. But the trails are there for people to enjoy. There's just so many too. There's so many, and they're so good.
I've ridden there so many times and I still have like no clue where I'm at.
Like, like, that's the way they want it. That's the way they want it to be.
I know, like, generally this is going to get me back down to the parking lot on the 9 side. This, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know where that right goes. I don't know where that left goes. And like,
it just, all you need to know is it'll drop you off at 9. So you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Super fun down there. Where do you get down there very often?
I try to. I ride there about once a month. Mm-hmm. I alternate usually between that and demo on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So during the week, I'll do JMP usually. And then on the weekends, I'll get a hall pass from the family where I could ride, a couple hours away. Mm-hmm. But I definitely need to come up to the north side a little bit. Yeah. Maybe where you are. Like we were just talking earlier about like Hoots and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. No, that would be awesome. I mean, anytime you want to ride, dude, just hit me up. Obviously I'm riding every weekend. So whenever your schedule is like available, just tell me and I'll tell you where we're heading. And if you don't like that, we'll pick somewhere else. Yeah, for sure. What's the Downeyville situation right now? I think they are running shuttles again. It's just Downeyville Outfitters that's running it though. Okay. So they were closed down for a little bit. Somebody in the town said that they weren't wearing masks. And so it like shut them down for like a week or so. And the other shop that normally does the shuttles, they're like, my understanding is like they're funded by the trail advocacy group up there or whatever. It's the Sierra Buttes or something like that. Yeah. So for them to not run shuttles, like somehow or another, like their bills are paid, right? So where like the Downeyville Outfitter guys are like, dude, if we don't run shuttles, we're not going to like put food on our table. So they're running still this season. And honestly, the trails are in really good shape. I was up there like 2 weeks ago, and I think, because of COVID, not as many people were going up there. A lot of people didn't know whether it was open and just, I guess, can't pick up a phone or a browser. And they're not as beat up as they normally would be. Nice. So yeah, I don't know, like sitting in a shuttle right now with strangers, knowing how tight that shuttle is would make me a little uncomfortable. The shuttle that we took, it was just the 3 of us on like my group. Okay. Could you book it like with just your circle of friends? I don't know exactly what their like protocol is, but that's the way it ended up for us. I mean, and the other end of it is just like, you can always go up and self shuttle with your friends. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd definitely do the self shuttle. Yeah. Then they also rent e-bikes in Downeyville Outfitters as well. I know the Colorado kid, he was on the chat earlier. I bumped into him whenever I went up there at the beginning of the season, and him and his friends, they rode like 8,000 feet elevation. Yeah, I saw that video. I don't think they made it all the way though, or maybe they did. I think they were on like Hecklers, I think. Santa Cruz Hecklers. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure which bikes they were riding, but either way, I mean, like, ultimately, dude, you could get an e-bike, you could pedal from the bottom all the way to the top and do a run and have your own shuttle. Yeah, he said, all the way back to town, he said in the comments. So that's the way to go. That's a perfect use case of e-bikes.
Right. Yeah, and they did that trail that's not the regular Downeyville downhill. There's, in that back parking lot, they're like back behind the sheriff's office or whatever it is, like way back in the back. There's a trail that leaves from there and it goes back like towards Sacramento instead of up the hill towards Tahoe.
Huh.
And so apparently it was pretty fun, Well, I know you need to get going, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me, man. It's been a long time. We need to get out in the dirt.
It's been too long. Yeah, we definitely need to ride soon.
Let's make that happen, man.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I know it's a little shorter show, but hey, it is what it is. If you guys liked what you got a little bit of tonight, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit it twice. Just because it's fun to push buttons, right? If you guys want to see more or hear more, hit the subscribe button because that actually makes me happy, and I would enjoy seeing this thing keep growing. And if it doesn't keep growing, one day it might just be deleted, and then you guys be like, "What the hell?" I'll be like, "Hey, you didn't subscribe. It's not my fault. It's yours." So other than that, man, you got anything to say to anybody before they leave?
No, this has been great. Thanks for watching.
That was awesome, man. Definitely had a good time. For all you guys out there, remember, it only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one.